In this video, I'm going to teach you guys how to make the perfect grain spawn without fail every single time. It's super easy, it's going to save you guys a lot of time, and you guys just don't need to overthink it. I like to begin the process by tearing out my mushroom bag. This bag has a 0.2 micron filter compared to substrate bags which have 0.5. After that, I like to take this little scoop. It's just a Ziploc container. I know a lot of people that will take pieces of PVC and just cut it to size, but this works for me. You know, I would rather stick with something simple than go through the headache, but use whatever you like. This tends to give me about a pound on average. The next step in the process is folding your bags. What you want to do is line up the gussets. So I like to grip it with my fingers like this, and sometimes I'll put a finger on the inside to line up the gussets, but basically I'll pull it up, and at the same time I will take a finger to the back of it and flatten it out as I push air out. Now, I don't try getting this perfect on the first time. I know that I'm going to have some creases at the bottom, and as I go, I flatten them out. So once you get it down, you want to squeeze all the air out of it. So I get on my tippy toes and push down with all my weight. And generally that gets the air not out. This also helps form it into a block. After, I grip it, I flip it over, and I take it very tightly around the back. So at this point, your gusset should look like this. It should come out nice and flat. And that is important because in the pressure cooker, as the pressure slowly decreases, it forms a vacuum and pushes all the air out, and it will self-seal. So when you take it out and put it in the lab, it's going to be nice to work with. You're going to have that peace of mind that it was properly sterilized and there are no contaminants inside of there. It's time to load the pressure cooker. I look over my grain bags and make sure that the gussets are lined up. I have a trivet on the bottom of this, and I just slowly load up the pressure cooker. A lot of people suggest using mason jar rings in addition to the thing that comes with this. I haven't found that necessary. I don't get overcooked grains or anything, and this has generally worked out for me. I can fit 4 in here, and when I have 2, I like to add water. You want it sitting maybe an inch up your bag. You don't want to find yourself in this situation where you run out of water and then you ruin your pressure cooker. After getting your bags in the pressure cooker, I like to put something on top just to prevent the flaps from flapping up and clogging the pressure valve, just because you don't want to be working with a bomb in your kitchen. I just flicked on the gas, and you may notice I don't have the weight on yet. Now, it's very important to not add the weight until you see a visible stream of steam. You want it to be a cloud, and that means that it's time to add the weight. This means that it's going to reach pressure faster because it can vent all the air that isn't, hot out of the pressure cooker, and it's just going to make the process a lot easier. I find that it takes about 15 to 20 minutes on average. So right here you can see a visible cloud of steam, which means it's the perfect time to add the weight. My pressure cooker just vented, which means that's the perfect time to set a timer for 2 hours and 30 minutes. This is how I make my grain spawn. Usually I have been soaking it for 24 hours in the past, and for the past year or so, that's really been what's working for me. However, the past few weeks here, I've been experiencing a lot of issues with wet grains that clump together, a lot of burst grains recently, and I'd say for the past 100 pounds or so, I've had a lot of difficulty with my mycelium just even clinging to this grain, and it's really shown me the importance of hydrating my grains properly. And I've been bouncing back and forth on a few different methods, so I figured I'd make a video on it now that I have landed on something that really works well for me, even though soaking it for a day has worked perfectly for me in the past. I guess, something changed. And I think that's one of the important things with mushroom cultivation and with anything in general, is that you have to adapt and you have to find something that fits your needs rather than somebody else's needs. And this has been working for me. So a lot of people will soak and then simmer. Some people will just put grains in a bag and then add the correct, water ratio, then pressure cook it. And while that may work for some people, it's never worked for me. I've experienced a high level of contamination when I do instant prep oats, and I find that soaking it is really the only way that works for me. I hate simmering my grains simply because, you know, I make a lot of grain spawn and I can't just simply fit all of it in a pot. And before I come up with a better solution, I've seen people that use, you know, water heaters and big tanks to hydrate their grains, and it only takes not that long because the water permeates the grains so much faster when it's hot. But I just don't have the means to do that. So I like to soak my grains and then put them into bags and pressure cook them, and it's worked perfectly for me. My contamination rate is really low, but my moisture content's really been off lately. So I just simply reduced my soak time to 18 hours rather than 24, and I've gotten some really happy looking grains. They're really plump, and what you want to look for is that they're hydrated on the inside and that they're not wet on the outside. So maybe you want to put it on a paper towel or something just to see how much water it leaves behind. It's called the paper towel test, and that's generally a good rule of thumb because you don't want much excess moisture in your grains. Another great way is to take a grain and see if you can go through it with your finger. And I know that was out of focus, but you get the idea. Just squish it in between your fingers and it should, you know, snap in half. And that's how I make my perfect grain spawn. And it's how I've been doing it for over a year here at Fungi Mush Urban Farm. I've just, you know, simply reduced the time to 18 hours because my 24-hour soak was too much. I hope this information helped you guys. I have a lot of new content coming. I'm recording everything that I have going on in my mushroom business. I just wanted to thank you guys for watching.